Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today we are going to talk about Indian Penal Code. So there is a need to revamp the colonial era IPC. That is what has been said by our Home Minister Amit Shah. So we will discuss this topic in detail. For video updates and queries, you can connect with me on Instagram and Facebook because I feel together we can make a difference. Now see, you can get our StudyIQ premium content at ₹159 per month only. Here you will get various premium videos which other students and other subscribers who are not joining us won't get the benefit of, like the daily current affairs, monthly banking awareness, monthly best 200 current affairs by Prashant Dhawan. You will get monthly compilation of most important geopolitics and IR issues by Dr. Mahipal Singh Rathore. You will get monthly 5 premium videos. Okay, now coming to the relevance of this topic, it will be covered in your mains paper 2, governance, transparency and accountability. So at objective level, you should know about IPC. At subjective level, you should know why there is a need to revamp the colonial era IPC. So in what context today we are studying this? The Home Ministry is set to amend various sections of Indian Penal Code IPC and even of the CRPC, that is Code of Criminal Procedure. Now talking about IPC in detail, the Indian Penal Code is the official criminal code of India. It is basically a very comprehensive code intended to cover all substantive aspects of criminal law. This code was drafted in 1860 on recommendation of your first law commission, which was established in 1834 under the Charter Act of 1833 under the chairmanship of Macaulay. So here I will write Macaulay. So it came into force in British India during the early British Raj period of 1862. However, it did not apply automatically in the princely states, which had their own courts and legal systems until 1940s. So the code has since been amended several times and is now supplemented by other criminal provisions. Now the question is why there is a need to revamp, why IPC needs revamping. See, the rebooting of IPC, it was introduced by British in 1860 itself, and it was necessary as it is primarily based on the spirit of master and servant. If you see the IPC, the spirit you will find is of master and servant, which is not relevant in today's era. We are a democratic nation. In the British era, the police were, why there was police in British era? Because they were raised to protect their interest, but now their duty is to protect the people. Earlier the police was just to protect the interest of the British people, but now the duty of police is to protect the people. So even in many cases, you'll find that there is uneven punishment for crimes of grievous nature. For example, if somebody is caught snatching chains, bags on road, it could be life-threatening to the people also. And in some case, we have seen people dying also. They are killing the people and snatching chains and bags. But in some cases, the punishment is very low. The punishment is not commensurate with the gravity of the crime. They will still be charged. Depending on the whims of the police, it is still be booked under robbery or theft. We have to standardize the punishment. Now, there were earlier amendments in this also which have been done. Like in 2016, Home Ministry had proposed insertion of 2 stricter anti-racial discrimination provisions in the IPC. The 2 amendments in section 153A and section 509A were made to deal with racially motivated crimes, which received lukewarm response from the state. So here the proposal, if we talk, is what is the proposal? So the proposal is that Home Ministry recently said the Bureau of Police Research and Development should work on the proposal to amend the codes, and the ministry wrote to all the states and union territories seeking suggestions in this regard. So 2 committees comprising legal luminaries have also been constituted by the ministry, but obviously there is a need for caution. What kind of caution? See, while the revision of the codes is essential in many ways, it should not be unprincipled or unguided amendments. In the process, it is suggested that they should look at what are the general principles of the criminal law. The language of IPC should be maintained. The rules which should govern its interpretation should be seen. Criminal law is considered to be the most apparent expression of relationship between a state and its citizens, right? Criminal law defines this relationship. So any revision of IPC therefore needs to be done while keeping several principles in mind. So what are the principles that need to be kept in mind? For example, victims, because victimological underpinnings ought to be given a major thrust in reforming laws to identify the right of the crime victims. There are many points which actually move towards the increased role of victims in the criminal justice system. For example, government should try to launch of victim and witness protection schemes. They should be there. Use of victim impact statements, advent of victim advocacy, increased victim participation in criminal trials, and enhanced access of victims to compensation and restitution. And then talking about offences, construction of new offences and reworking of the existing classification of offences is another priority, because this process must be informed by the principles of criminal jurisprudence, which have substantially been altered in the past 4 decades. For instance, liability questions in offences, they need to have a fresh look. Criminal liability should be graded better to assign the degree of punishments, and new types of punishments like community service orders, restitution orders, that is your restitution orders, and other aspects of restorative and reformative justice could also be brought in this fold. Then there is need of classification also. Chapters of IPC are overloaded at several places. It is unnecessary to have hundreds of sections in the category of property offences. The scheme of chapters and classification of offences can be drastically reworked. Like offences like criminal conspiracy, sedition, offences against coin and stamps, they must be abolished or replaced now because there is no need. Even the chapters on offences against public servants, contempt of authority, public tranquility, and trespass can be redefined and narrowed. New offences under a fresh classification scheme, like those which were suggested by the Malimath Committee. So there was the committee known as Malimath Committee who have suggested lot of suggestions and recommendations, or you can say reforms. So talking about Malimath Committee, that can altogether be a different lecture, but I will give you some details about Malimath Committee also. See this Malimath Committee report 2000. This was on the reforms of criminal justice system of India, that is your CJS. They submitted their report in 2003. So they suggested around 158 changes in the CJSI, but the recommendations weren't implemented. So the committee actually had opined that the existing system weighed in favor of the accused and did not adequately focus on the justice to the victims of crime. So their main recommendations were: one, I will write here, rights of the accused. So the committee suggested that schedule to court be brought out in all regional languages so that the accused knows her rights as well as how to enforce them and whom to approach where there is denial of those rights. Next is about a recommendation about policed investigation. The committee suggested hiving of the investigation wing from law and order. And then it was about court and judges. The report pointed out judge population ratio in India is 10.5 per million population as against 50 judges per million population in many parts of the world. So the ratio is 19.66 per million people in 2017 latest data. So it suggested that increase in strength of judges and courts. Then there was again one more recommendation about witness protection. It suggested separate witness protection law so that safety and security of witness can be ensured and they can be treated with dignity. And then even they talk about vacations, holidays in the courts. They recommended reducing the vacations of courts on account of long pendency of cases. So even after Malimath Committee, there was again another committee which was Madhav Menon Committee. So this Committee on Criminal Justice Reforms, it submitted its report in 2007. So the 4-member panel was set up to draft a national policy paper on criminal justice system. So they also suggested a lot of things, like they favored the complete revamp of entire criminal procedure system. They mooted creation of fund to compensate victims who turns hostile from the pressure of culprits. And then it suggested setting up of separate authority at national level to deal with crimes threatening the country's security. So we can actually make a whole different a video here talking about these committees, but I have given you a gist like what were the recommendations of such committees. So talking about the way forward, see, India needs to draft a clear policy that should inform the changes to the that should be envisaged in the IPC, and there should be many improvements made in police, prosecution, judiciary, and even in the prisons for the above measures to be truly effective. And a criminal justice reform committee with the mandate to evolve criminal justice policy that should be formed, and the recommendations should be taken seriously and exercised, and it should be furtherance to work done by Menon Committee on Criminal Justice System and Malimat Committee. The Law Commission in India in this regard should work accordingly, because these committees have actually given some very valuable recommendations. So this is all about today. Thank you.